Google search results. 17 Republican attorneys general vowing action
against Google for allegedly censoring pro-life pregnancy centers on their site.
So allegedly claiming something without proof. So 17 attorneys general, which I feel should be attorney generals, but maybe I'm wrong, vowing action against the biggest company, like, for censoring pro-life centers on their site and calling out the Democratic leaders who are...
State prosecutors calling out Democratic leaders, congressmen and women, attempting to pressure the tech giant to, quote, discriminate against pro-life crisis pregnancy centers in Google search results, in online advertising, and Google Maps. Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares.
So Democratic leaders are pushing for this company to discriminate, which means recognize a distinction, differentiate between, in their search results, and Google Maps. Just literary understanding.
Leading the charge. He joins me now. AG Miyares, thanks for being here. Here's the rhetoric you are up against. Senator Elizabeth Warren saying this about these pregnancy centers just 2 weeks ago: we need to shut them all down around the country. You should not be able to torture a pregnant person like that. So what's this quote-unquote torture she's referring to? Well, here are some of the surveys about these pregnancy centers just 2 weeks ago. We need to shut them all down around the country. You should not be able to torture a pregnant person like Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares leading the charge. He joins me now. AG Miyares, thanks for being here. Here's the rhetoric you are up against. Senator Elizabeth Warren saying this about these pregnancy centers just 2 weeks ago.
The rhetoric. Define rhetoric.
Here's the definition of rhetoric: the art of effective or persuasive speaking or writing, especially the use of figures of speech and other compositional techniques.
Okay. We need to shut them down all around the country. You should not be able to torture a pregnant person like that. Just, we're going to listen to the rhetoric, the persuasive wording of this. We need to shut them down all around the country. Sounds like a pro-life stance in this whole current time. You should not be able to torture a pregnant person like that. Lots of rhetoric. So let's see.
We need to shut them all down around the country. You should not be able to torture a pregnant person like that. So what's this quote-unquote torture she's referring to? Well, here are some of the services provided in these crisis pregnancy centers: free ultrasounds, pregnancy tests, STD testing, parental and prenatal education classes. Doesn't sound very tortuous to me. What are you and your fellow AGs doing about this, AG Miyares?
Well, I mean, I'd like to first of all say to Elizabeth Warren, she clearly has never visited a crisis pregnancy center, because if you have, you would see they're the very, very best of America. They're women that want to help other women, and they will help any woman that
down around the country. You should not be able to torture a pregnant person like that. So what's this quote-unquote torture she's referring to? Well, here are some of the services provided in these crisis pregnancy centers: free ultrasounds, pregnancy tests, STD testing, parental and prenatal education classes. Doesn't sound very...
Okay, so pretty much everything that we see here on the Planned Parenthood page: STD testing, birth control. They substitute abortion for the, I guess, the parenting and prenatal education classes. I'm sure Planned Parenthood, the name Planned Parenthood, would imply that they would also have to have some kind of guidance towards planning for the parenthood route, right? Like, I have a very hard time letting my heart believe that if a young pregnant person is going to Planned Parenthood to get a pregnancy test versus, I guess, one of these pro-life pregnancy crisis centers to get the same pregnancy test. Finds out pregnant. I have a very hard time letting my heart just immediately jump to the assumption that the Planned Parenthood side would then immediately jump to the route of, okay, so when do you want to schedule your abortion appointment? I can't, I just don't see that as, I mean, I can admit that there would be some probably wickedness within that, certain individuals, but the institution, I have a tough time that the institution is on the side of the fence where, in that situation where you know, this person just finds out, hey, yeah, I'm pregnant, that institution immediately jumps to the, like I said, when do you want to schedule your appointment? I feel that the people are good within the institution and that they would ask, just, okay, so what route? How can we help you plan for this parenthood? Do you want to plan for parenthood, or do you want to, you know, we're here for you, or whatever? I'd imagine the pro-life centers doing the same thing. With but then I also, within the system there, I know that those institutions have a higher probability of the follow-up of bringing in religion into this scenario. Why do I say that? Because I looked up what exactly is a pro-life crisis center. In my state of Colorado, I Google searched it. It was a whole list. I could find them on the map. I looked into them, went into the reviews. Here's, you know,
These came back from a search.
You know, alternatives, pregnant center, abortion pill reversal, counseling after abortion for women and men. Like, I thought that was, I mean, that was, I didn't like think of that. Like, yeah, wow, that a pro-life center where their focus is to just be there for the people who chose that way but still have a life to live and just need that. I think that that's great. Counseling after abortion, as long as it's just not like a torture where you're going to hell and you need to repent for that sin, and you know, like, that's the torture I can imagine Elizabeth Warren kind of addressing. Just ultrasound services, free confidential, and this is where it's like, free confidential, non-judgment, you know, life choices, this whole website, feeling good. Then you jump to like this one, Pro-Life Arizona. This building just looks shady, no ratings, nothing. You know, then I question it. What is this? And I come to these ones where it's just like, the first banner is, you know, thank you for your support. Donate money. The first thing you see is give us money. Versus, hey, free, confidential, non-judgmental. Then I looked into it, and the beginning, you can save twice as many babies from abortion your first month as a monthly donor, thanks to a matching challenge. That rhetoric right there has corruption peppered into it everywhere.
Very tortuous to me. What are you and your fellow AGs doing about this, AG Miyares?
Well, I mean, I'd like to first of all say to Elizabeth Warren, she clearly has never visited a crisis pregnancy center, because if you have, you would see they're the very, very best of America. They're women that want to help other women, and they will help any woman that comes to them, regardless of what they believe, regardless of their background.
Again, let's just kind of focus on these pronouns. They're women. They're women who want to help women from any background.
Sounds, pregnancy tests, STD testing, parental and prenatal education classes. Doesn't sound very tortuous to me. What are you and your fellow AGs doing about this, AG Miyares?
Well, I mean, I'd like to first of all say to Elizabeth Warren, she clearly has never visited a crisis pregnancy center, because if you have, you would see they're the very, very best of America.
Like, how many pregnancy crisis centers has AG Miyares visited? I don't know if that's like even like a respectable, you know, like it's just, what kind of opening statement is that? I personally, I would imagine Elizabeth Warren having more, maybe that's bigoted of me. Maybe that's like some ism of me, but I don't know. I just don't, that argument right there doesn't prove, it actually hurts his position in my mind.
America. They're women that want to help other women, and they will help any woman that comes to them, regardless of what they believe, regardless of their background. And so many of the women that come to
if it's like a transgender woman or male pregnant, that can happen, coming in, will these women show the same? I would hope so. Agent Miyares is faithful in these women, then I am faithful too, that they would not discriminate against that scenario.
That are desperate. And so the idea that she would use, as a United States Senator, threaten the full force and power of the federal government to close a private charity. This isn't a public institution. These are private institutions funded by the generous gifts of their donors, all because she doesn't agree with their worldview. That is the opposite of what a diverse society can do to survive. And so you had on top of that several members of Congress who sent a letter to Google saying, we do not want to allow crisis pregnancy centers to even advertise, even to be allowed to advertise on our platform, or even to show up on Google Maps. Now, Google controls over 90% of all the web searches in America today. And so I can't think of any more gross abuse of power in which you use the full force of power of a monopoly to shut down an idea just because you disagree with them. So I put together a coalition of attorney generals along with Daniel Cameron of Kentucky, where we just put Google on notice and say, listen, we don't care what these far left politicians who want to demonize this private charity that helps women are asking of you. Don't do it, because we have the power of attorney generals, if need be, to absolutely investigate you, see if you're abusing your antitrust statutes, as well as possibly religious discrimination as well. And so our job as attorney general is to be the people's lawyers and also be those folks representing the
business corporation standpoint. Are they the company, like, do they have to, every business has a right to refuse service. But I mean, I guess if you are giving service, you can't just like, hey, yeah, here you go, I spit in it. So, I don't know. It's a lot of weird gray areas in this case.
Underdogs, and right now, crisis pregnancy centers are under siege, both literally and figuratively. I've had 2 crisis pregnancy centers in Virginia alone, one in Prince William County, another one down in Lynchburg, that have been vandalized and attacked by these groups, Jane's Revenge and others, that have tried to silence the voices of those they disagree with. And it's tragic, and we're proud to stand with them.
It really does beg the question why the party of quote-unquote choice is so worried that a woman might get a range of options when faced with a pregnancy. Why the Democrats only want you to have the option on your search results to terminate the pregnancy is telling. AG Jason Miyares, it's always a pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you, sir. Keep us posted on your work in this area.
I'm Steve Ducey.
Also be that those folks representing the underdogs and right statues, as well as demonize this private charity that helps women are asking of you, don't do it, because we have the power of attorney generals, if need be, to absolutely investigate you and see if you're abusing your antitrust statutes, as well as possibly religious discrimination as well. And so our job as attorney general is to be the people's lawyers and also be that those folks representing the underdogs. And right now, crisis pregnancy centers are under siege, both literally and figuratively. I've had 2 crisis pregnancy centers in Virginia alone, one in Prince William County, another one down in Lynchburg, that have been vandalized and attacked by these groups, Jane's Revenge and others, that have tried to silence the voices of those they disagree.
Democratic leaders, congressmen, against ago, we need torture she's referring to. Well, here are some of the services provided in these crisis pregnancy centers. Free ultrasounds, pregnancy tests, STD testing, parental and prenatal education classes. Doesn't sound very tortuous to me. What are you and your fellow AGs doing about this, AG Miyares?
Well, I mean, I'd like to first of all say to Elizabeth Warren, she clearly has never visited a crisis pregnancy center, because if you have, you would see they're the very, very best of America. They're women that want to help other women, and they will help any woman that comes to them, regardless of what they believe.
Just like the women at Planned Parenthood. Like, are we demonizing every woman that works at a pregnancy crisis center under the name Planned Parenthood versus under the umbrella term pro-life pregnancy crisis center? Is that how we are dividing these two? It's just, if you're under this name, then you are this. And then if you're under this umbrella, you're good. Is this how we are going to look at this? I hope not.
Regardless of their background, and so many of the women that come to them are desperate.
Right here.
And so the idea that she would use as a United States senator.
So right here, the graphic is a Planned Parenthood with
threatened the full force and power of the federal government
with guards
to close a private charity. This isn't a public.
So now, this is where the media is showing us like what we should realize. Like, Planned Parenthood is a pro-life pregnancy crisis center. They're there for the life that's coming in. And what, it's the same idea. They just also offer an option that favors the life that has the breath of life going. Like, we have to make that mark. Yes, a life begins at when we go to these centers, or when we go and find out that life has just been fertilized. Like this is it. This is when it begins, and this is where you gotta look at the perception to the person. Oh, if you're expecting, if you're planning, then this is great. This is everything that you wanted, you know, like this, but unexpected. Okay, if it's unexpected, hey, well, this is still great. I'm happy. Let's do it. Come on. Or, ooh, I just started a new job. You know, like, these are the conversations I just like do thought experiments. And I'm just like, wow, that was a tough one. You know, but like I said, I only disagree with this pro-life movement because of the division. They have drawn a line where this line is the line of demonization, essentially. Whatever side of the line you're on, the other side is going to demonize you in some way. They're not going to praise you for the work that you do. They're not going to try, you know, like, why? Why can't they both sides just say, look, we are after the same mission. We are trying to care for the life that is coming in or coming to us for some kind of service or assistance or aid. And then we, and when I mean we, I mean they, and when I say they, I mean these two sides, have just this new door where it's like, come this way and you can find a world that will take you to a path of God or the religious route. And then if you just take this door, then there'll be whatever door they have plus one more that they will not offer you. Like, that's clear, black and white. Like, that's just the argument. And then, of course, if you're the person, you have no idea what's going on about any of this, you're just brand new, never watched TV or anything like that, and you say, well, what's this door? Well, in this door, you can choose to take that life away. If you're okay with that. And then this is where this side's like, but if you do that, if you walk through that door, and I'm just speaking from like the far, I guess, left, like religious voice, where it's just, you go through that door, you think about going through that door, you're going down, 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 not up, down. And then you say, what? Down where? Up where? Oh, you've never heard? Then you need to come through our door. Then this side comes in and says, you go through that door under that welcome mat, then we fear, you know, it's just, this is just the cut and dry, like, Mad Lib I would have to create. But again, when I look at this graphic and I just see Planned Parenthood, and I know that in Virginia, where A.G. Miyares is a representative as an attorney general, Virginia is kind of like my state. They haven't changed anything. The trigger laws didn't go through. I found this graphic from CNN when everything was overturned. And this was like the big thing. And it was, I mean, these trigger laws are just kind of weird. We got to see what happens after the next election round comes up. How will the citizens in each of these states that with the act of the trigger law switched, you know, it's let's not demonize these states immediately. You know, like, this was all just part of our like rules and stuff. It's like prohibition. Think of abortion as just a different form of prohibition. It's just, hey, no alcohol. You know, like, I don't know if in the time that it was issued, they were like, for 90 days, or it was just no alcohol. And then everybody was just like, what? Like, and then you get all this underground dark stuff. But it's like marijuana. It's just like, yo, we're all cool with it. Even law would come in and just be like, yeah, I'm off duty, or you don't tell, I won't tell. You know, like it bred American society to just kind of go in that route with, you know, just it brewed that culture. And I feel that that was the light that sparked the change to take away that precedent. You know, just, okay, we're lifting prohibition. Oh yeah, I'm going to vote for that guy. I imagine that was an easy campaign platform to win if that was what they ran on. But again, the platform that politicians are facing today is this is a big one. This is a very big one, because it's just, it can get so broadened that it's like light. It's just scattered. The light just scattered. It's not focused on where it should be focused. The person who is having to make this judgment call or decision based on all this back and forth that these sides are throwing at them in the crossfire. You know, it's just, I am grateful that, yeah, I'm just a cis male who just at least doesn't have to fear going through that alone. You know, like, I know that if I am going into that building as a cis man, I will have somebody with me there to be going, you know, like, it's just, those are the comforts that I just can take and be grateful for if I was in that situation. And so that's why I can have this empathy. But then, I don't know, I imagine going to like this type of thing where it's just like, hey, yeah, the donate, give us money and we'll save babies. Well, no, I'm here for you to help save. Oh, yeah, we got pregnancy tests, ultrasounds. Like, what do you want? You know, you can go to Planned Parenthood for that. Like, it's just, I don't know. I imagined a different pitch, and this is why. Like, watch this.
A few years ago, I was thinking about how the pro-life movement needs to position itself in order to have the most impact. After all, we've been laboring for over 40 years to stem the tide of abortion in the United States, yet nearly 1 million unborn children will die from abortion this year. So in that moment, God downloaded a phrase to me that has reshaped the way I think about what it means to be pro-life, and as a result, what CareNet's mission and vision should be. That phrase is pro-abundant life. It's inspired by John 10:10, where Jesus says, "I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." So let me take a moment to explain what pro-abundant life means and how it is transforming CareNet's work and, we hope, the broader pro-life movement. Let's use the analogy of a building to envision what a pro-abundant life approach to the abortion issue looks like. Let's start with the two pillars that uphold the pro-abundant life roof. The first is God's design for the family. We see this modeled in the first chapter of the first book of the New Testament in the story of Christ's birth, which was an unplanned pregnancy from Mary and Joseph's perspective. We learn that God sent the angel Gabriel first to Mary, who had hopes and dreams for her life that did not include a child at this time and in this way. But Mary didn't let the uncertainty of what she didn't know dissuade her from saying, "Let it be unto me as you have said," and she chose life. But what did God do to make sure that Mary's unplanned pregnancy was not a crisis pregnancy? He sent the angel Gabriel to Joseph, who had hopes and dreams for his life that did not include a child at this time and in this way. So Joseph was a man with a plan. He was going to put Mary away quietly. But the angel gave him a new plan to to be a husband to her and a father to the child growing inside of her. Joseph chose life too. Christ was brought into the world to reflect the high idea of God's design for family. For a child to have a mother and a father united in marriage, loving each other, loving their child, and loving God. Indeed, the Holy Family was Holy Family. This is a model for everyone who is facing an unplanned pregnancy and for those who seek to help them. That said, we know that every couple facing an unplanned pregnancy may not marry, but we still must help them to understand the benefits of the institution of marriage and relink motherhood, fatherhood, sex, pregnancy, and marriage consistent with God's design so that they will avoid future unplanned pregnancies. This is especially critical since 86% of the abortions are to unmarried women. Moreover, the lack of a father's support is the main reason why women choose abortion. The second pillar of our structure is discipleship. In the last chapter of Matthew, Christ gives us the Great Commission to make disciples. All good work that Christians do must lead to discipleship, and compassion for the pregnant is a good work, so it must also lead to discipleship. Those facing unplanned pregnancies are a mission field. So as Christians, we must never think of the abortion issue as primarily a political or material support issue, even though it has political and material support implications. You see, the first thing that should come to our mind when we see a woman facing an unplanned pregnancy is that she needs to become a disciple of Jesus Christ, as well as the child growing inside of her and the man connected to her pregnancy. And here's the thing, 1 John 3:17 reminds us that we must help those in need or the love of God is not in us. In other words, you can't make disciples without providing material support. Moreover, you can't make disciples without being involved in the political, because as disciple makers, we have to protect the vulnerable through the political process. The key, as Jesus reminded us when he was given a coin with Caesar's face on it and asked if we should pay taxes, is to make the things of God, like discipleship, the highest priority. In summary, discipleship empowers people to reject abortion, and it enables individuals to offer compassion, hope, and help to those vulnerable to abortion. This is Christ's command to us. That is why CareNet's vision, the foundation of our pro-abundant life structure, is a culture where women and men faced with pregnancy decisions are transformed by the gospel of Jesus Christ and empowered to choose life for their unborn children and abundant life for their families. How does this translate into how CareNet serves others? First, we are inspired by the Manger family to share a vision for marriage, fatherhood, motherhood, and family. Inspired by their decision to choose abundant life, we inform and inspire the Modern family to do the same, supported by the power of discipleship. CareNet's affiliated pregnancy centers have saved over 677,000 lives since 2008. We have shared the gospel with over 1.6 million people and have delivered parenting and relationship education to over 1 million people. Last year alone, we delivered over $63 million in free education, material, health, and emotional support to over 872,000 women, men, and children. Moreover, to unlock the power of discipleship in communities across the nation, we have equipped churches to start pro-abundant life ministries and to build stronger bridges to their local pregnancy centers through our Making Life Disciples initiative. This will enable small groups to come alongside and support those facing unplanned pregnancies. And finally, CareNet is equipping tens of thousands of individuals with practical and compassionate ways that they can carry out their pro-abundant life beliefs through our free online courses and educational downloads. We hope that you will join us in the pro-abundant life movement to save the unborn, build families, and to make disciples for Jesus Christ. For CareNet, I'm Roland Warren.
This CareNet, Roland, you tell me what you think.